There is a person in your life, maybe a coworker, a classmate, maybe someone you grew up with, who always seemed just a little different. They went quiet in conversations that excited everyone else. They asked questions that made people uncomfortable. They seemed distracted, but somehow always knew more than anyone in the room. You probably thought they were just odd, or maybe you weren't watching someone else. Maybe that person was you. Maybe you've spent years feeling like your brain operates on a frequency nobody around you can quite tune into. Thinking too deeply, feeling too much, never fully understood, even by the people closest to you. If any part of that landed, stay with me. Because today we're breaking down 7 common habits of people with extremely high IQs. Habits that look strange from the outside, but make complete, undeniable sense once you understand what's happening inside that mind. And I'll warn you now, by the time we get to number 1, you're either going to feel deeply seen or completely shaken. There is no in between. Number 7, they talk to themselves constantly, not just mumbling under their breath. High IQ individuals have a habit of narrating their own thinking out loud, working through problems, arguing both sides of an idea, even answering their own questions before anyone else can. And here's what the science says. A study published in Acta Psychologica found that talking to yourself out loud actually sharpens focus and improves cognitive performance. It's not a quirk, it's not a disorder. It's the brain externalizing complexity, turning invisible thoughts into something it can actually examine and refine. Most people think the person talking to themselves is the strange one in the room. Turns out, they might just be the smartest one. But here's what nobody tells you. The thing they're talking to themselves about, the content running through that mind at all hours. That's what number 6 exposes. And when you hear it, you'll realize the conversation they're having with themselves never actually stops. Not even when they're supposed to be sleeping. Number 6, they stay up later than everyone else. Now, before you say, that's just everyone on their phone, listen closely. Research from the London School of Economics found a striking correlation. People with higher intelligence are significantly more likely to be night owls, not because they can't sleep, but because the night is the only time the world finally goes quiet enough for their mind to fully open up. No interruptions, no small talk, no obligations, just them and their thoughts. And suddenly the ideas start flowing in ways they simply can't during the day. Nikola Tesla barely slept. Charles Darwin did his deepest thinking past midnight. Darwin's famous theory of evolution, born in the quiet hours most people waste on sleep. The high IQ mind doesn't rest on the world's schedule, it rests on its own. And in those silent hours, when the rest of the world is unconscious and the noise finally dies down, that's when something else creeps in. Something that has nothing to do with brilliance or late-night breakthroughs. It's a habit that looks a lot like self-destruction. And number 5 is where it gets uncomfortable. Number 5, they constantly question things everyone else just accepts. Not to be difficult, not to argue, but because their brain physically cannot accept information at face value without interrogating it first. While most people hear an instruction and follow it, the high IQ mind immediately asks, why does this rule exist? Who decided this? What happens if we do it differently? As children, these people were labeled difficult or too curious. As adults, they become the ones who challenge systems, disrupt industries, and build things nobody imagined possible. Jeff Bezos was told the internet wouldn't be big enough for a bookstore. Elon Musk was told rockets couldn't land themselves back. Every person who ever changed the world questioned something everyone else decided not to. That habit of questioning, it looks like defiance from the outside. From the inside, it's just the brain doing what it was built to do. You'd think someone who questions everything would have every corner of their life figured out, organized, controlled, intentional. But step inside the personal space of a high IQ individual, and what you find will genuinely shock you. Number 4, they are chronically, deeply messy. I know, that doesn't sound right. We picture geniuses in clean, organized labs, perfectly structured, meticulously ordered. But research from the University of Minnesota found something fascinating. People in messy environments demonstrated significantly higher levels of creativity and unconventional thinking compared to those in tidy spaces. The high IQ mind isn't messy because it's lazy. It's messy because it's everywhere at once, pulled in 30 directions simultaneously, making connections across ideas, following threads that matter more in the moment than tidying up. Einstein's desk was famously covered in papers and books. When asked about it, he said, "If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, what is an empty desk a sign of?" The chaos isn't the problem. The chaos is the process. Now, the mess on the outside makes sense, but number 3 is about the mess on the inside, the emotional weight that builds up behind all that intelligence, and the unexpected, almost genius way they've learned to hide it in plain sight. Number 3, they use humor as a coping mechanism, and it runs deep. Not surface-level jokes, not laughing to fit in. High IQ individuals use humor as a psychological tool, and research backs this up completely. A 2017 study in the journal Cognitive and Affective Behavioral Neuroscience found that people who scored higher on measures of intelligence were significantly better at creating and appreciating dark, complex humor. Why? Because processing humor, especially dark humor, requires the brain to hold two conflicting realities at the same time, resolve the tension between them, and deliver the punchline before the mind catches up. That is not a simple process. That is high-level cognitive work disguised as a laugh. But there's something deeper here too. High IQ individuals often deal with pain, anxiety, and the weight of overthinking by converting it into wit. The funniest person in the room is sometimes the one carrying the most. They laugh through the weight. But number 2 is what happens when the laughter isn't enough anymore, when the mind gets so far ahead of itself that even action becomes impossible. This next habit has quietly stolen more potential from more brilliant people than failure. Number 2, they set standards so high, they freeze themselves. A high IQ brain can see the ideal version of almost anything it touches. The perfect answer, the perfect plan, the perfect outcome. And that is the trap. Because when perfection is visible this clearly, anything short of it feels like failure before it even begins. So they delay, they over-research, they rewrite, rebuild, reconsider endlessly. And sometimes they never start at all. Not because they don't care, because they care so much that the fear of producing something less than their own standard becomes completely paralyzing. Psychologists call it analysis paralysis, and it disproportionately affects the most capable people, the ones whose inner vision is simply too precise for the real world to match. The brilliant mind sits on ideas that could change lives, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. 6 habits, 6 things that look like flaws, but are actually the fingerprints of an exceptional mind. Number 1 ties all of them together, and I need you to pay close attention because this final habit is the one that explains everything. Number 1, they self-isolate, not because they want to, but because they have to. High IQ individuals have a pattern that researchers have documented for decades. When the world becomes too loud, too shallow, too surface level, they disappear. They cancel plans. They go silent for days. They retreat into books, into projects, into their own mind, and they recharge in a way only solitude can give them. It's not depression. It's not antisocial behavior. It's a nervous system that is simply running at a frequency the rest of the world doesn't share. And in that solitude, that's where the thinking happens, the creating. The connecting of ideas. The person who disappears sometimes might just be the one who comes back with something the world wasn't ready for. I'm going to say something, and I want you to sit with it. If you recognized yourself in this list, not 1 or 2 of these habits, but most of them, the world has probably spent a long time telling you that something is wrong with you, that you think too much, that you feel too much, that you're too intense, too distant, too difficult, too something. But what if nothing was ever wrong with you? What if you were just built differently and nobody around you had the language to explain it? I want you to go to the comments right now and tell me which habit made you stop and think, how does this video know me this well? Because I have a feeling this comment section is about to be one of the most honest places on the internet today.